For the past week, I've been living with this 2020 Kia Forte GT. Now, this particular model is a 7-speed dual clutch transmission. It's also available with a 6-speed manual, and this one has the GT2 package. So this is pretty much the top of the line Forte that you can get in the model lineup right now. And I think the car is really on par with competitors like the Honda Civic Si in terms of performance, but those features that you get with the GT2 package set it apart, and it's something that you can't really get on a car like the Civic Si. For pricing perspective, this car starts at $23,000, around $23,000 for the base GT with the 1.6 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, which gets 201 horsepower and 195 foot-pounds of torque. That comes with the 7-speed dual clutch transmission, just like this one. Then if you go up a little bit more expensive for around $24,000, you can get into the 6-speed manual version of this car, which I would definitely recommend if you like to be in control of your car at all times. It's taken me a little bit of time to understand exactly how to get the most out of this car with the automatic, and I think with that 6-speed manual, you're just going to be able to get in and go very quickly and easily with full control over the car. Now, if you get this GT2 package, this is the top of the line, that's going to set you back $26,000. This particular model has a few optional extras that bring it to $26,445. And some of those extras that you get, I think they're really worth it. So for example, this car has Michelin Pilot Sport 4 summer tires. They're exactly the same tires that you get in the Kia Stinger GT, and that's just a $200 option. So I think it's really worthwhile getting that package, unless you live somewhere where you can't take advantage of the summer tires during the winter time. So going back to the comparison to this between this car and the Civic Si, I think in terms of driving personality and handling and body roll, I think it's definitely on par. This car gets 0 to 60 miles per hour time in about 6.7 seconds, which is slightly slower than the 6.5 seconds that is advertised on the Civic Si. But you know, where this car has slightly less horsepower than the Civic Si, it does have a little bit more torque. And I would say that the difference you're going to get between this car and its competition is going to just depend on the driver, because in certain cases this car is going to be like a smidge faster, and then in other cases, like the other car, will be a hair faster depending on how you drive the car. Let's talk about the overall styling of this car. So one thing that I really like about the Forte compared to a lot of its competitors is the clean lines that you get on this car. So if you look, for example, if we take the front end design, this grille, it's a simple grille, but it does have some touches of the GT that come from the Stinger GT, obviously. So one thing you get is the dark chrome accents on the grille. And then you get the GT badge here, and then there's actually some red inserts, plastic inserts in the grille to make it stand out opposed to other Fortes out there. And then if we go a little lower to this lower grille, you can see that that is a really simple and clean design. And that lower grille also includes your radar, which is for the smart cruise control system that this car does have. And then you also have these small round fog lights. They look really good, but they are not LED. Then as we move over to the side here, you'll see that these units, they're actually 2-in-1 unit. So it's both the turn signal as well as an air vent that goes all the way through to that front tire for better aerodynamics. And then finally, as we close out the front here, you'll see that it has these headlights. Now these are GT exclusive headlights. They're full LED. They have these 4 LED positioning lights, which are the daytime running lights. And then on the side here, you do get 2 amber LED strips that look really nice at night. Let's move on to the side of the car. So as I mentioned, the side of the car is really clean. This greenhouse doesn't have some of the quirky lines and creases that you get in cars like the Honda Civic and the Hyundai Elantra and other cars like that. I do like how it's clean and simple. It has this one character line that goes all the way from the front to the back, and then a lower body line right here that kind of comes up in a very sporty manner. Then also on this GT model, you get that custom side skirt that has the gloss black insert. I think it looks really nice in this application. To go along with that, you get the gloss black side mirrors here, as well as gloss black shark fin roof antenna. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it looks pretty nice. It looks very sporty. And then let me talk about these wheels. These are 18-inch wheels. They are two-tone painted, and they have a small red circle plastic trim around the center caps there. So that wheel, in my opinion, it looks a little bit like Pep Boys Aftermarket. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but I do know that in the Facebook group for the Forte GT, a lot of people have been powder coating these wheels black, and I think it looks really good. So that's something that you might want to think about if you get this car, if you're not going to go all out and get custom wheels for it. As I mentioned, these are the Michelin Pilot 4 Sport tires. They're summer tires, and they make this car handle amazing. Definitely recommend to get that option. Now let's move around to the back. So first thing you notice, it has this black lip spoiler. Looks really good. Just kind of goes up just a tiny bit. It's not over the top, and I really like this high trunk lid here. Then let's come down. These taillights, they are GT exclusive. They have a special LED signature pattern here. Unfortunately, that light does not actually extend into this middle section here. You only get the light on the outside. This middle section, you would have to go aftermarket if you want that to light up. Then as we come down, this car has a ton of GT badges. This is one on the back. There's one on the front grille, as I showed you before. There's additional GT badges for you on the inside, so you're never going to forget that you're driving the Forte GT. Okay, so let's move down to the lower bumper. We have this unit. I really like how rather than put a fake grille on this car, like a lot of cars have like fake grills on their bumpers, this is actually, the turn signal and the reverse light. So it actually is functional in a way. Like it's not a vent, but it does have some function. So I do like how they incorporated that. Then you have this lower bumper valence. The red line here, that's exclusive to the GT, and that's going to come on every color of the GT, whether you get this beautiful fire orange color or whether you get, a more subdued color like a dark blue or a silver, those kind of things. They're all going to come with that red body accent. And then on this model, because it's the GT, it does get twin tailpipe. These exhaust pipes are GT exclusive. Even if you get the GT line, you're only going to get a single exhaust. So that's something that sets this car apart from other members of the Forte lineup. Now, one reason why I want to show you the trunk is because this car actually comes with a smart trunk. It's not powered, but I think it is a really good feature. So I have the key right here, Stinger inspired key fob here. So all I need to do is walk around to the back of the car. The car is locked right now. It's going to beep 3 times, and then it's going to open by itself. So if you're carrying those shopping bags, it's really easy to get in the car. And then if you come over here, it's a very, very large trunk for the segment. So this is 15.3 cubic feet, and it basically swallows up anything you throw at it. And this car is optioned with the cargo net as well. And then if you need more space than the 15.3 cubic feet, then you have these buttons right here, or latches right here. If you just pull this, it's going to allow the seats to pop forward so that you can put more stuff in this trunk. And then one thing that Kia is really good at, they have this really nice Forte mat right here. But under here, you get a spare tire as well with the kit to change it. So I know a lot of the competitors, they don't offer that. They just give you a fix-a-flat, but this car has a real spare tire. So now let's take a look at the inside of the car. So if you want to come around here. So now we're on the inside of the 2020 Forte GT, and I want to show you a few of the different things that differentiate this from other Fortes, because this does have the GT2 package, which has a lot of luxury features. So let me show you some of the things that this car can do. So first of all, as we get in the car, you see this leather-wrapped steering wheel. It has red stitching as well to go with the GT badge. And then, of course, it has a GT badge on the D-cut steering wheel as well. So it feels really nice in your hands, gives you a lot of confidence. And let's continue on by talking about the gauge cluster. So this is a traditional gauge cluster. It has a 3.5-inch color screen in the middle, which does all of the functions of the car. So for example, it will show you your transmission temperature for the 7-speed dual clutch transmission. It shows you your fuel economy and of course your trip computer and your speed. So if you want to see those options, you can do so. It will also show you your tire pressure for all 4 tires. And then it has your lane keeping assist functionality, because of course this car has the full cruise control system. So what that means is that when you're on the freeway, you can set it up to allow you to follow the car in front of you. It will do active steering for you, full feature set of some of those more expensive Kias that you find out there. And I'd say it's a pretty good competitor to other systems that exist in the market, and you're not going to have any problems with the cruise control system in this car. You can also adjust using this button on the steering wheel how far behind the car in front of you want to maintain your distance. Continuing on with this gauge cluster, we have a lot of different ways that you can control how this car works. So I'll show you a couple of those. So for example, one thing you can do is change the one-touch turn signal. So right now it's set so that when you put the turn signal up a little bit, it's going to flash 3 times, but you can actually turn that off if you'd like, or you can make it flash 5 or 7 times. So I really like how Kia gives you the control. Another thing that this car has is it actually has ambient lighting. The ambient lighting comes out in the door panels, on the driver and passenger door, as well as on the GT logo, which is actually on the dashboard. So as I mentioned, this car has a lot of different GT logos. This one actually lights up in one of 6 colors. And then what you can do in the gauge cluster is you can actually set it to this mode called link to drive mode. So what that will do is if at nighttime you have your lights on and you go to move your car into sport mode or smart mode, or you go between the different modes, it's going to change the ambient lighting color. It's a really cool feature. I haven't seen that in other cars, and I think it's a really nice application. So another thing that this car has is it has this convenience menu, and this allows you to do things like decide whether you want to see your gear position come up when you change gears. It allows you to turn off the icy road warning if you want. So another reason I really like how much control this car gives you. One other thing I'll mention about this car is it actually does not come with one of those auto start stop systems. That's a good thing for me because I don't really like how you get to a red light and it turns the car off and you can't really turn off the system. You can kind of turn it off on that drive, but it's going to come right back on when you go for another drive. So let's move on to the infotainment system. This is an 8-inch touchscreen, and this offers a lot of functionality. But there is a few things that are missing that you might find on other higher end Kia models. So first of all, of course, you can control your radio. It's a really nice system that allows you to rewind audio, connect your phone to the car. It has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And if you hit media when your phone is connected, it's going to allow you to stream your Bluetooth from your phone. You can also make phone calls by hitting the phone button, and then there's a home button to go back to the main screen. The setup, like I showed you in the gauge cluster, there's a lot of things you can adjust here. So one thing that I really like is when you go to the advanced settings, there is a steering wheel mode button. Now what this allows you to do is say, okay, I never listen to AM radio, I don't have USB, I don't have an iPod, I never do this. So now what it's going to do is when I hit that mode button on the steering wheel, it's going to only select from FM, Sirius XM, or the ones that I have selected. So I like the configurability. I like how this Kia gives you a lot of control over what you want to do. Now, what does this system not give you? It doesn't give you that full Kia navigation. That is something that I wish it kind of did because I like the Kia inbuilt navigation. But on the other hand, of course, with the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, you can connect it up to Waze, Google Maps, or whatever you like to do. Oh, one thing other that I really like that Kia does is this star button. They do this on other cars as well, and you have the ability to adjust that to do whatever you want it to do. So right now I have it adjusted so that it'll go to an analog clock, and then it'll go right back when I end that. And you can have that button do anything you really want it to do. Now let's move down here. As you can see here, we have a dual zone automatic climate control system, and it's very responsive, allows you to sync with your other zone, as you can expect from an automatic climate control system. It's really nice. And then coming down here, we have a wireless charging tray. I like this design because a lot of times in other cars, I feel like I have to maneuver the phone in. In this application, you just kind of throw your phone on. Doesn't matter how you do it, it's gonna keep charging, and I like that. And then we come down here, so we have our 7-speed dual clutch transmission here. It does have the Tiptronic over to the left, even though we do have paddle shifters on the steering wheel. And then here's our 3-position heated and cooling seat. There's one blank button here. I kind of like how Kia tries its best to not have these blank buttons, but this one does have one. And then your drive mode selector is here. So now, next thing I'd like to talk about is the seats. This car has leatherette seats. They are not full leather. So in my opinion, while they are supportive and while I don't feel uncomfortable in them, I do think they're a little bit rubbery. It's very obvious that it's not a real leather, and so I kind of wish that they had just taken that a little bit further and given us the full leather. Your armrest here, you have a little bit of space in here with another USB charger right there. Okay, so that's pretty much it, although let me talk about the sunroof, because this is a power sunroof. It does tilt, and it also slides. However, it is a manual shade, so that part is manual. This car is also full LED lighting throughout the interior. I like that because it's modern, and they didn't have to do that at this price point, but they did, and I think it works. So I'm driving the Forte GT now. One thing I noticed when I first got this car was it felt kind of like an economy car, but what I found out was if you put this thing in sport mode and then you move over the gear shifter to the sport Tiptronic part, and if you use the paddle shifters to get into gear 1, this is when the car really comes to life. And it inspires you with a lot of confidence, because not only do you get some pretty good acceleration, as I said, it's 6.7 seconds to 60, but it gives you a lot of confidence in those corners because it handles really well. And I don't know how much of that is to do with the summer tires that are on this car, and how much is to do just with like the way that they've designed the handling on this car, but I think they did a really good job. And it definitely feels on par with cars like that Civic Si that I was talking about. It compares really well. Another thing that I'll mention is that this car has a really nice exhaust note. I think that's something that they really got right, and it's something that some of the other cars in the class could learn a thing or two from Kia about, because it does have some nice pops and crackles as you're using it, and it sounds really good, especially like when you're driving and it shifts gear and you hear that sound, or if you're outside of the car and you hear it. I think it's really a strong point for this car. I also really like how when you're in sport mode, it holds the gears, even in this automatic transmission version. On the other hand, I have to say, if I had to choose, I would get the manual transmission version, because again, this car, it takes a little while to learn how to drive it in a more sporty way, whereas with the manual transmission, you'll be right in your element on day one. Let me also talk a little bit about gas mileage, because that's another strong point of this car. It does get around 30 miles per gallon if you drive it economically, so it's up to you. You know, if you are gunning it every single time, you're not going to get that great gas mileage, but if you treat it well, it's going to give you around 30 miles per gallon, which is very competitive in its class. Now, the last thing I want to talk about on this drive is about that GT badge, because, you know, I've talked about how this car does have good performance, and how it competes really well with the Civic Si. But I think we all know that there are cars out there like the Civic Type R and like the Veloster N, and those cars really blow this away. And so when you think about the GT badge, it came from the Stinger GT, which is a true Grand Touring car and is really able to compete with cars like the Audi S5 Sportback. And so when you bring the GT name to this car, I think you just expect a little bit more. So, you know, again, I think this car is great. It competes with the Civic Si really well. But I think if they called it the GT line and then had a more powerful full GT version with maybe the Veloster N powertrain, I think that could really make this car shine. And, you know, this car could still exist. It could be called the GT line, and then you could have what is now currently sold as the GT line. You could have that as the Forte S. That's just how I feel, because while it is very impressive, it just doesn't wear that GT badge exactly the same way that you might get it in a Stinger. So that's the Kia Forte GT2. This car it looks great. It handles really well. It has good performance, and it takes on the Civic Si very well. The only thing is, I would say when you have cars out there like the Veloster N, like the Civic Type R, it's a little bit disingenuous to call this the full GT. It would be nice if this was the GT line and you had like a higher performance GT. But for $26,445, I think you're getting a lot of car, and people who purchase this car are going to be really happy with their decision. For theKoreanCarblog.com, I'm Kevin Rooney. Thank you very much.